This is Ringside Report Radio. I am Dave Simon. Kevin McKough is with me live here on TSN 690. And it's our pleasure to welcome back to the program an Olympic wrestler representing Canada in the 08 Games. Now joins us to talk wrestling and to figure out what's going on with the sport and the Olympics. David Zilberman, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Well, it's good to talk to you, David, but, I mean, these circumstances definitely suck. What is going on with the IOC, and what is the problem here with the sport of wrestling?
Well, from everything that I've read, it's not that there's anything wrong with wrestling. They're just saying that they're looking for the best sports to display at the Olympics, to have the best showing. And I guess they felt like wrestling wasn't good enough.
And what made them decide all of a sudden that wrestling, the oldest sport, the original Olympic sport, right, is suddenly not good enough for the 2020 Games?
Well, there have been a lot of changes with the sport in the past. I'd say between the past 10, 15 years, they reduced the amount of weight classes. They've changed the weight classes, and they've added women's wrestling in, and they've even changed the basic rules of the sport, and it's to make it more appealing for the public. And the truth is, wrestling is not going to be one of those sports. It's not going to be appealing to most people because it's not a mainstream sport in North America or pretty much anywhere in the world. It's got a very small niche of people that are interested.
Right, and I understand that, and I'm interested, and I think that, with the influx of wrestlers in mixed martial arts, more people are getting interested in wrestling and grappling and combat sports, really, as far as on the amateur level in the Olympics. But you see things like swimming getting huge ratings on NBC because people can get enamored with a character like Michael Phelps. Why do you think a guy like, Jordan Burroughs is not looked at in the same way and doesn't command the same type of ratings and intrigue? Because to me, what he's doing is far more impressive than swimming in a pool. I mean, this guy says, I'm going to go win the gold. He goes and does it and dominates everyone else in his class.
It's a cultural thing, but it's also people understanding what is happening. Throw somebody in a pool, they have 100 meters. Who gets there first, quickest time? It's very simple to watch. It's not like wrestling where there's so many little details, so many rules that people, don't understand what's happening. And like I said, culturally, wrestling is not big in North America or in South America. You go to countries like Iran or even Russia, it's huge. Mongolia, the same thing. There's countries where there's a huge cultural background involved with the sport.
And have you heard any kind of outcry from those countries as well? I mean, yesterday when it was announced, it just blew up all over Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that in North America. But as far as the global reception to the news, have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything, but I imagine if it's so big here in North America, it's the same thing all over those places. It's a huge, huge shock, a huge disappointment, and to be completely honest, if wrestling is not going to be an Olympic sport, it's going to die because there's no reason for anybody to do it. The biggest thing was to go to the Olympics. It's a national. You have national training centers around the country, and there's funding for the sport. If there's no funding, there's no reason for anybody to do it. They can't just train full time. It's not like basketball or tennis where you can go and make millions of dollars, or even track and field. It really is a poor man's sport, but it's taken to another level because if there's no funding for it, there's no way people are going to do it.
And it's already daunting enough, right? I mean, it's already hard enough to be a wrestler as it is. Take away the end goal of most wrestlers, which is the Olympics, and it becomes very, very difficult to survive as a sport, and that's completely understandable, and it's scary. It really is to think about, but it's not over, right? What What can people do, and what is the situation? It's going to be up to a vote?
There's another vote that's going to take place in September. From what I understand, it's going to be between 100 and 150 different voters who are involved with the IOC that are going to make this final decision. I know that the national governing bodies from the different associations, the wrestling associations, will be lobbying to keep the sport alive. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but hopefully the other sports that they're talking about, such as fencing, running, shooting, horseback riding, which is the pentathlon, is under a lot of scrutiny also. But I'm not sure what the other sports are. I think Taekwondo is on the chopping block.
Wow.
There's a few of them that are in trouble right now. So it's going to be tough. Some people are saying there's no chance. Some people are saying there is a chance, but I don't think anybody really knows the answer.
Wow. I mean, that's scary. And what can people do? I've seen a lot of things, different online petitions put out by different organizations. Is that going to help? And, is there one in particular people should go to?
That's a good question. I don't know how much influence the general public is going to have on this, because once it goes to these committees, it's their decision. They make those choices, and it's silent ballots. It's not like, David Simon's going to put in his vote, and it's going to be known that he doesn't want wrestling in there. You know what I'm saying? It's all silent. Nobody knows. Yeah. That's the dangerous part of it. And there's so much politics involved. There's so much money. It's a huge shame for not just for wrestling, but for the whole Olympic movement.
Yeah, it really is. And the reasons that they're giving for wrestling, which has been around, forever, the reasons that they're giving are purely financial. And I think that's a real shame, because you figure that's not what the Olympics are supposed to be about.
Right. It's ratings, it's a popularity thing. Beach volleyball, I mean, tough sport, but it's not one of the core sports from the modern Olympics. You know what I'm saying? And that's getting tons of fans, because everybody who's doing it looks so good, and it's out in the sun, it's on the beach. It's fun for people to go and watch, and it's easy to understand. Yeah.
But it annoys me so much, because I watch these things and I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed that someone can ride a horse really well. I mean, most of it, I think, is the horse.
Right.
Some of it, obviously, there's skill in horseback riding, and there's skill in beach volleyball, and there's skill in these other things. But wrestling is a different kind of beast, and that's a different kind of respect that you have for somebody that's very good at that.
I find it hard to believe that the sport is not popular in North America, considering how big it is on the collegiate circuit. There are people recruiting young men and women out of high school in order to go to universities just for wrestling. I find that it's weird. I can understand it not being popular in like the United Kingdom, and that's one of the criticisms that a lot of mixed martial artists get, is that they don't have that wrestling pedigree like the North Americans do, or at least a lot of the Americans do. I really find it hard to believe that, considering how big college sports is in the United States, that wrestling is not more popular.
Well, in the U.S., it's huge. The NCWA, there's so many different leagues in the university. It's absolutely huge. But you're also looking at a huge population of, 250 million people, compared to Canada, which is 20 million, or 30 million people, 35 million. You can't compare it. When we talk about wrestling in North America, a large part of it is from the U.S. It's not from Canada. The U.S. is a totally different beast when it comes to sport in general. But wrestling, it's